that one to the cloud. Thank you so much for being on the call here with us. I got a special guest, man, all the way from the great state of Texas. I don't know what about with them Texans, man, but they really proud of being from Texas. I tell you that. So we got some people, man. I've been blessed to be in a mastermind with you guys, and man, just a wealth of knowledge. Roosevelt, you told me that you want to learn about subject twos. Had a couple of other people that I want to learn some more creative stuff. These two guys are the guys that you definitely need to make sure that you follow. I think I told them before to make sure that they follow you guys. But this is going to be the art of the creative deal, okay? What I'm trying to do, I'm putting Charles on the spot here, Charles and Mike here on the spot. I'm trying to convince them to come in here and just give a whole class on all this, right? Because this stuff right here is what you need to learn in order so you can get more deals closed. Right now, you probably have deals that are in your pipeline that from a wholesale standpoint, it doesn't make any sense. But doing it this way, doing a couple different ways that Charles and Mike are going to show us can allow you to close some of those deals and put money in your pocket, put money into your business so you can push it further. So without further ado, I'm going to I'm opening up for Charles. I don't know if I'm opening up for Charles and Mike. You guys are going to speak at the same time, but definitely the HBHS house is in effect all the way from San Antonio. What's going on, fellas?
How you guys doing?
Good, man. How you doing, Charles?
Good. Thank you. I want to thank you, Tommy, and thank everybody for getting online tonight. Hopefully, we're going to go ahead and bring it. And my partner Mike's here also, and we'll answer all your questions. I guess, Tommy, you're going to basically steer us through this, right?
Yeah. I'm going to steer you through this. How you doing, Mike?
Oh, man, good, man. I'm excited that everyone's here on a Sunday evening, man. It shows me everyone's motivated, everyone's hungry, everyone wants to succeed, man. And hopefully Charles and I can bring a lot of value to everyone who's watching. So we can definitely share on all the subject to deals that we do, all the creative financing deals that we do. Charles and I think it's very important at this time of this era with everything that's going on that creative strategies is the way to go. So Tommy, man, appreciate you guys having us on here, man.
Absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time out on Sunday to do this for us. So let's get to it, man. Let's get to it because I know we got a lot of stuff that we wanted to cover. I want to talk about 3 different things. And I was pressuring Charles and Mike. I was like, man, can y'all squeeze in 3 different things? So I'm gonna let you guys run with it. Let's start off with the sub twos. Is that okay? Will we start off with that?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Take it away, bro.
Mike, you want to go on it?
Yeah. So go ahead. So my internet's a little fuzzy, man, but you go ahead, Charles, and start it off.
So with subject to, guys, we do a lot of these, and we actually do a lot of different kind of transactions. But subject to is something that really has come to the forefront in the last couple of years. We've been doing them for years. What that entails is basically you're taking over somebody's risk. And notice I didn't say property. It's very important. You never go and say, hey, I want to buy your property because what are they going to ask? How much do you want, right? So subject to is basically where financing stays in place. It's subject to their financing, whether you agree to take on this deal or not. And what you're doing is it gives you the ability to acquire properties without going to the bank and getting a loan, right? Without putting your own money up front. And you can do this with all type of transactions. You can do this with we do a lot of what we call zero equity deals. We concentrate on new homes that are maybe 6 months old, a year old, 3 years old, and the return on those is fabulous. But you can do this with older homes. You can do subject twos with warehouses, with multifamilies. There's an assortment of deals you can take down. But the extra strategies can be wraparound mortgages, if you're familiar with that. You can do rentals, you can do Airbnbs, you can move into the house if you want, you can do boarding homes. I mean, there's so many extra strategies with subject twos, but you got to know how to put them together because you can get into hot water doing them incorrectly.
Yeah, so Dylan said he heard about you guys on the Real Estate Disruptors podcast. So so definitely good company here. So explain. So we're saying, and I want you guys to pay attention to this. And I think I was on a phone call with Devin yesterday, and I said the exact same words, and I learned that from you guys. Is that we're taking on the individual's risk, right? So walk us through how you explain that to a homeowner.
So we target this. This can be tailored to an individual who's non-military real easily. But I'm going to talk to you about military. So San Antonio, if you guys don't know, there's 5 bases here. So it's called Military City, USA. There's no other city with more bases around it than San Antonio. So we target a lot of military. And so what we teach our people to do is start farming in where all the new builders are building homes. Because most military guys come here, they're here for 4 years. They usually buy a house within 2 years. But what agents don't tell them, and the reason I'm explaining this stuff is so you guys understand our concept behind it. What agents don't tell them is when they get orders, they ain't gonna have enough equity to sell. And what we tell them is, and we also hand out flyers, we're knocking on doors, we're doing a lot of proactive stuff. What we tell them is this: if your agent tells you that you got to increase the sales price by almost $20,000 to sell this house so you can compete with the builder, your house may end up sitting on the market for a long time. You may end up having to be an out-of-state landlord, depending on a management company to make sure they maintain your property. So I say, Mr. Military Guy, is that what you really want? Now, are you trying to do your 20? If you're trying to do your 20 and you get a foreclosure, you're going to lose your security clearance. Okay? That's gone. If you're trying to get security clearance, you ain't going to get it. If you're trying to make rank, will this affect your rank or not? I don't know, but chances are they are. Both Mike and I were military, and I can tell you right now that they're looking at all that stuff. It's definitely going to affect your eligibility. You ain't going to buy a house using your VA anymore. So this can affect you all the way around. Now, what I want to do, let me back up. We always tell them, because we do buy houses cash. What I always say is, Michael, I do buy houses cash, but we also offer options. And I need to see your documents to see if we can help you. Because if we can't buy this house cash, I want to offer you some options. And then we go through the litany of what could happen to them. And then I say, look, Michael, I would love to buy your house cash, but I cannot buy your house cash. And let me tell you why. Because you owe $200,000 and the property is only worth $210,000. And there's no investor that would put $200,000 down on a property he's only going to make $300 on or $400 on. It's too much risk. And that's what you have here. You have a lot of risk. Now, I'm willing to take on your risk. I'm willing to help you out of this problem. You see, notice I didn't say now, I'm not buying anything. I didn't come here to buy. I came here to help you. I came here to offer you an option and say, I'm willing to take on your risk so you can go on to your next duty station and not worry about this. I will make sure the payments are being made. There's a transaction that we do with an attorney called a subject to financing transaction, and we will make sure this house gets paid for you. And I cannot tell you how many military guys right there and then we're ready to do it. And I said, no, we got to go through a whole process of taking this property down. The fastest we've ever done it was 3 days. It usually takes about 7 days. But we're getting properties where there's not even one payment behind. So we do target pre-foreclosures. That's a whole other concept when we're talking to them. But when we're targeting military, we're never talking about buying anything. We didn't come here to buy. We could buy. We came here to take a risk from you.
So your thing for this particular strategy is to find homes that are cash flowing, that you can get cash flow on from a monthly basis because there isn't any equity there.
I can explain it, but Mike can explain this very well. We're going to talk to you about how we can make money on zero equity deals, paying houses that are not in pre-foreclosure, 3 ways. Mike?
Yeah, so before you go into these making money 3 times on a deal that has little to no equity, we're talking about subject to. And in Texas, I know everyone's a little all over the place, but in Texas, we got the note, we got the deed, and we got the deed of trust. Now, the note is the terms on the property. When the buyer buys a property, he's now the seller, as in this scenario is. So the seller's note shares what the terms are. When it's a 4.5 fixed interest rate for 30 years, is it an 80-20, which it shouldn't be nowadays, but we want to see the note. That's very important. The second document is a deed of trust. Now in Texas, we do deeds of trust where in essence, if you don't pay, you don't stay. The bank can come and foreclose on you, and it allows the bank to foreclose on you. And the third document is the deed or the title. Now, what people get hung up on or people get confused on is the deed is what makes you owner. So when we tell the seller, hey, the deed's gonna transfer to us, it is now our property. It belongs to the company, it belongs to myself. Now the note and the deed of trust may stay in your name. That's true, but we're purchasing subject to the financing staying in place. Now, Tommy, going to your question, when we look for deals that have little equity, and I want to recap what Charles says. When someone says, hey, I thought you guys buy houses cash, we do buy houses cash, but your house is a specific scenario. Your house, you just bought it 6 months ago. You just bought it a year ago. There is no equity. Now, I can buy this house cash, but it doesn't make sense for me as an investor. Your property is almost dollar for dollar. And if I want to buy a house dollar for dollar, I might just buy a brand new one that comes with all the bells and whistles and has the 1, 2, 10 warranty from the builder. But with your case, Mr. Seller, we do want to help you and we have an option. Now, on the investor side, everyone that's on here, when we do these deals, and people are always asking us, Mike, Charles, how do you guys do these deals that have little to no equity? It doesn't make sense to us. That's a lot of risk on it. Now, the deal, like Tommy said, is the passive income. That's what we're looking for. The long play of this investment, as you guys, as the investors, that's what you guys want to do. So when we find these deals, Charles and I, we always break it down this way. The deals that have little to no equity, typically, primarily our portfolio consists of owner financing, where we're subject to it and then we'll sell it on a wraparound mortgage. The second thing will be a rental. That's the second portion of it. The third one is an Airbnb. And then the fourth one is like myself, I actually moved into this property, which is a very nice property here in San Antonio that was also subject to, because I'm not going to qualify, I'm not going to put extra debt in my name when we can use other people's money. So Tommy, going to your question, we look at the notes. The very first thing when we do a sub-2 deal, when we pitch the seller and the seller understands that we bypass that part and we're looking at the numbers, to answer about 80% of our information, we need the current mortgage statement. The most current mortgage statement is going to tell us what the payments are, the PITI. It's going to tell us what type of loan it is, what's the interest rate, what's the balance on the house, who is on the loan, because the mortgage statement is going to address it to the sellers or to whoever the borrowers are on that note. The maturity date, those are very important. So once we get that information, we always want to do our due diligence. But let's just say the mortgage is $1,200. If Charles and I know the rental rate scenario is $1,400, and then yeah, it'd be a good cash flow for a rental. Now, if it's owner financing, we want to know what the rental rates are in the area, because you don't want to go too far off the rental rates as a mortgage. So if the rental rates in the area is $1,200, we don't want to sell in owner finance at 10% and the payment is $1,800. It doesn't make sense to the cost of living. So we actually looked at all factors. But let's just go to the owner financing method, the wraparound method. If we tell the seller subject to, and it's not our property, and let's just say we sell it owner finance, the first thing we're going to ask for is a down payment. Now here in San Antonio, it's kind of customary to be $15,000 to $20,000 down. Now remember, this was a deal that we were zero into for whatever reason, or depending on the numbers. So your first thing is you're making your down payment money. Let's just say it's $15,000. We now made $15,000 on the deal. The mortgage is $1,200. Our mortgage payment is $1,500. Now we're making $300 a month every month on passive income. The difference is when we make money the third time is the underlying lien, that balance, let's just say it was 120. We sold it at 145 with 15 down. We're at 130. Now, granted, it's only $10,000 difference. But over time, the balance is going to go lower because the underlying lien is a 3.5% and our mortgage is 8.5%. So in about 4 or 5 years, it really spreads difference. And when that person who we sold the note to wants to sell it, refinance it, cash out, whatever the case is, we're going to capture the equity. So you got the down payment, you got the cash flow, and you got the refinance, the appreciation, the forced equity in the back end. So. All
right. So real quick, so let me make sure, get some feedback from the group. If you guys understand what he was just talking about, put a 1 in the chat. If you need some more clarity, put a 2 in the chat. Let me see where you guys are. Ones. Okay, cool. Be honest now. If you don't know, all right. So 2. Nikki said no. All right. 2. Denise. No. Okay, cool. So let me show you guys real quick, and then we'll move on. I'll try to keep this as brief as possible, so you guys can.
I actually got an example of it, Tommy. If you want to.
Oh, you got an example? Cool. Yeah. Let's do that. It's even better.
Let me get that going. Hold on 1 second.
All right. Let me know when you're ready for that, and I'll kind of start with this here. So we got a house here. He said it was for 120, right? 120K. And the ARV on it is like, let's just say it's 130, right? So there's only $10,000 worth of equity in between the two. Doesn't make it a good deal. Okay. So it's not behind on terms. I mean, it's not behind on the mortgage payment. He just got to You just got to take over the payments, right? So we're just taking over the payments. He said the payments were, you said 1,200, right? It's a little much for a 1,220, but let's just say it's $800 for the payments, right? So he got $800 a month in a mortgage payment. So he's getting that under contract. He's taking it over subject to $800, and he says, all right, we'll take care of this payment. Then on the back end, he's going ahead and doing what they call a wrap. So basically now they are the deed. They own the property, right? Now they're going to go ahead and do like an owner finance to someone else. So someone, you said customary is like 10 to 15K, and just, you can stop me whenever you're ready, Charles.
I'm ready.
You ready? Okay, cool. Go ahead and show your screen there. You can share it.
Let's see. Yeah, right here.
Good.
Can you guys see this right here? Can y'all see it? Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just one of our strategies, guys, because you can use so much for this. This is what we call a no equity, no expense deal. So, for example, if we have a property balance of 195 and the builder's selling in the area for 225, that's very important because that's why we target this, because the houses here in San Antonio are appreciating yearly, well, they were before this COVID thing, in some areas by 10 or 15%, and some areas like 7. So we know this. So we already know the builder price is 225. They're at 195. They got to increase the sales price to sell the house. And if you're going to buy a new house or a used house, who are you going to go with?
New.
So you're going to go with the new one. So for example, let's run some numbers here. Okay. If the ARV is 225, the mortgage balance is 195. And current terms, these are the current terms on the deal, 1482 at a 3.5 interest rate with 28 years left, right? So that means they've already paid 2. So if we concentrate on the resale at 230, why? Because we're always going to sell at a slight premium above what market value is. With a down payment of $20,000, that means we're trying to find a homeowner that wants to buy our house owner finance. And we usually target a lot of foreign nationals who are here. They can buy legally, they just can't get a loan. And if, for example, the terms PITI on that deal is 2,221 at an 8.5 interest rate on a 30-year term, then this is what we're looking at. So we're looking at a resale of 230, 20 down with a wrap of 210. That's our note. We're looking at a wholesale price. We're paying $5,000 if somebody sent it to us, but our upfront that we're making upfront is 15 G's. Remember, we're concentrating on a property that doesn't need any work to it. The monthly passive income on that deal is $739. You see that? If you look at this, see?
Yeah.
We've already factored the taxes and all that stuff in there, right? So the monthly ROI on that is $739. Equity position is only 15. But if we're in this for the long haul and we calculate what 30 years would be to include full payment ROI for the last 2 years, remember, because we're picking up a note for 28, then potentially this deal can make you $287,064.
Profit.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. Now you can sell this thing. You don't have to hang on to it. So for example, you can bring up, you can do a private lender option. For example, ARV 225, mortgage balance 210, terms 2221, same stuff. Wholesale fee 5. Let's just say you have a reinstatement of 12,000. So now we're talking about a reinstatement to include the wholesale fee if somebody sends us that deal. That's if one of our people is not picking up this deal. So we're bringing an investor at 20K at a 10% ROI for, let's just say, 90 days. And then we pay him. And then when we collect the down payment, we cash him out. And we'll either tell him, hey, let's just say, for example, he lends us 20. But for some reason, we need to get the house off the market. We only take 15. So that means we owe him 5 plus whatever we promised him for 90 days. So up front, we'll negotiate how long it's going to take us to pay him that, we'll create a term as to how long it's going to take us to pay that back to him. But it's not coming out of our pocket. And the reason it's not coming out of our pocket because we're making $739 on this deal, so it's all good. So another situation would be if the investor, it would be for the investor to take terms. So if he took terms at 7% to 10% for 36 months or 60 months, then that money's not coming out of our pocket. That money's coming again from the passive income that we are getting from the home. At some point, if we are bringing in private investor in to pay, to help us fund the deal, and we're using the ROI to pay him back, at some point, we're going to start cash flowing. And so, one of these maybe makes you 300, maybe 400 average. We have a whole bunch of them. Average, we're averaging about 525 on each one. You know, or most of our houses, well, I think all of our houses now, Mike, are above 200,000, right? Between 200 and 325.
Of the
So,
newer ones, yeah.
yeah. So if you got one or two of these, maybe it's not a big deal. But if you got 25, 30, 40, 60 of these, then that's beautiful money every single month. That makes sense, guys?
Yeah. Yeah,
So let me throw a monkey wrench in something, because I won't go into Airbnbs or rentals. Well, let me just throw something very important. I can't even remember. This is very important. So I'm sorry, guys. My wife just walked in. So you know how the wives are, guys. So here's the thing. Let me just throw a monkey wrench into this. We have to talk about this because this is very, very important. A lot of times people will ask us, what happens if somebody defaults? Well, we've only foreclosed on one person and the whole time we've been doing this. Why? Because somebody gets behind, we're going to call them into the office. We're going to identify whether this person can continue or not continue. And if they can't continue, we're going to help them understand that, look, you can't continue in this deal. So what we're going to do is we're going to offer them to take back the property under a deed in lieu foreclosure agreement. And we have to get them into an apartment. I'd rather get them into an apartment and pay their first month's rent and their deposit than to foreclose on them, right? Because if we foreclose, that's going to go into their credit, and we have to file a judgment that's going to go into their credit. So a lot of these people will just give us the house back. Now, I don't suggest to anybody to pursue these type of transactions from this vantage point, because I think it's bad karma. But if you get the property back, get this, don't owner finance it again. Because if they paid it for 3 or 4 or 5 years, not only are you not capitalizing on that equity they got pushed down, but you're also capturing the appreciation that you lost when you wrapped it. So now we just rent those out. That makes sense, guys?
Yeah.
So let me throw something wild at you right now. Something that's totally off subject, but it'll just take me 2 minutes. Sometimes we'll find people that are behind on their properties, maybe 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 10,000. And let's just say they've been in the house. This is not a new home. Let's just say they've been in the house for 8 to 10 years. So they got some equity position. What I'll say is, hey, Michael, I know you want to stay in this property. I'm willing to pay this $8,000, but I want to purchase half of your equity. And how do we determine that? I'm going to give you the choice to either have a BPO done or an appraisal that we're both going to agree on, and sign a letter of acknowledgement, notarized. And if, let's just say he has $30,000 of equity, then I'm taking half, I own 15. Plus what I also want is I want in 10 years, I want half of the appreciation is going to accumulate in 10 years. So how do you do that? You do that with an option contract. So in 10 years, I got an option contract to purchase this property in 10 years. And whatever the base was, whatever the agreed amount equity he had right there, that's where we start. So whatever appreciation accumulated from there until 10 years, that's half of ours. How do I enforce that? With an option contract. How can I get rid of that house? I can buy it, or I can wholesale that whole transaction to somebody for a discount, cash out my initial equity that we agreed to, and whatever appreciation I'm keeping, because of course I'm selling at a discount to someone else. That makes sense, guys?
Yeah, that does.
Y'all like that stuff?
I like that right there.
So
you guys understand? You guys understand that from your perspective? Make sure that you guys, this is the time. Don't be quiet now and say, "Yeah, I understand," and you don't.
Let's get a turn up the hustle on that chat. If you guys understood, if you guys like that stuff, man.
Yeah. Is there an option to wholesale a sub to? Yes, there is an option to Derek to I think maybe you asked that before you went into that, but yes, there is.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Cool. So I know that's one strategy. Subject to, that's a high level, just kind of, skimming the top of what you can do with subject twos and creative financing. Let's look at the thing that you were telling me about. Just kind of, I know we might not have enough time to go over it in depth, but capturing these LLCs, because we come across LLCs that have properties all the time. Like how can we capture some of these LLCs and make money off of these companies that are purchasing real estate and find themselves in some trouble where they need to sell it?
Well, years ago, Mike and I have always been real big on going after, people with problems or property with problems. So when we look at that, we look at the different type of lists that we're going after. So we're real big about taxes, and we were always hunting for people that were going into tax foreclosure. But we noticed there was trust, there was estates, ETOs, there was a lot of LLCs. And we started, we've been in business a long time. We started researching some of these LLCs, and we found, hey, some of these LLCs are inactive with the state. And that's the key thing, guys. If an LLC is inactive with the state, they cannot contract. They cannot get into any agreement. They cannot sign a warranty deed. Those are beautiful properties. Well, those are beautiful entities to go after, because if they have a property that's going into foreclosure and they can't contract, and sometimes they have 2 or 3 properties in the LLC, then what we do is we skip trace those LLCs, we find the buyers, and we negotiate for those deals. Now, there's a whole process to it, and you got to make sure you get everything in line, but I'm going to give you a nugget. The nugget is this, guys. You negotiate for the property, but you identify to them after the agreed amount that you want, and you let them know you can't contract, man. You're going to lose this property, but I'm willing to do this deal with you. But I'm not looking to buy the property. I'm looking to buy your LLC. You guys got that?
Got it.
Yeah, so that's the key thing. Now, there's a whole litany of stuff that goes into it. How you got to take this from A to Z. But I'm going to show you something, Tommy. We got a minute. I'm going to show them something real quick. Give me a second, brother.
Absolutely.
I'm going to
make sure you guys understand that is that what's happening is that these LLCs are finding themselves, for whatever reason, they didn't file and get reinstated with because every year, as you have a company, you have to pay filing, right? You have to file every single time, right? They get behind on taxes, but because they did not file, then therefore they can't sign anything. So now they have these houses that are in this LLC that they can't really do anything with, right?
So check this out, guys. This is a real live deal, man. So, Mike, remember this one? This one right here happened the night before foreclosure here in San Antonio. It was, I think it was May 2018, Mike, right? The Final Four was going on, I believe. Our attorney was at some party, and we had been after this lady for about 6 months, and she texted us around 6 o'clock, and she said, help. And we got her on the phone. We negotiated with her. She talked us all the way up to $200,000 plus the taxes. And so, guys, it was a beautiful deal. We didn't give her any upfront money. There's a way to do that. That we didn't give her any upfront money, nothing, zero. We got the whole thing. We purchased we did all the documentation, purchased the LLC, got all the documents we needed to sign that night. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, she was signing in Houston, and we were signing here in San Antonio. And this is the real deal. So the property is an area here in San Antonio called Monte Vista. It's high-end area, old money area. It was worth about $650,000. It turned out to be in pristine condition, and taxes owed were about $25,000. She secured $200,000 against us, and we sold this property. This was our profit, and this is the actual HUD, guys. Let me see if I can get it. So you see right here. I know I kind of blacked it out, but I don't mind giving the address. You guys can look it up if you want. There's her 200,000. There's our 145. HBHS properties.
Wow. It was 8 properties.
It was one. No, this one was one. It was one property.
I thought you said it was 8 properties. Okay.
No, this for her. No, there's some LLCs that we've had that have had up to 8 properties, but this one was just one. She had a. What happened was, where this area is at in Monte Vista, they used to have these Victorian homes, and they all got cut down to size as the city grew, right? Well, this was part of a big estate, and so it was just a beautiful property. And it was actually they turned it into a fourplex, but it's actually in a very coveted area here.
Nice.
So we did that by taking down an LLC, guys, and never purchasing the property. We purchased the LLC, covered all our tracks, reinstated the LLC, and there's a way to do that. You can actually hunt for these LLCs and find properties in them.
That's crazy. So I know that's a large, a big process to do all that. How long does something like that take to go through that process of negotiating with the LLC and then doing all the things that you have to do? I don't know how to do any of that stuff. So how do you do that? How long does it take to do that?
This one is actually our biggest one. but it's also one that we didn't do in a trust. Because we usually do a lot of stuff in trust. And I like pointing this one out because if somebody calls me on it, I can point them to all the documentation online so they can go see it for themselves. So this one, actually, we got it done in about, 30 days, Mike?
About 30 days.
It was
I'm
quick.
answering, I mean, there's a lot of people on you, and I know we're short on time. So I've been answering questions on the chat, and I see people responding. So if you guys have anything. But yeah, about 30 days, Charles.
Yeah, we did it like in 30 days, man. It was in and out, man. It was when you get a property in Monte Vista here in San Antonio, trust me, everybody wants to buy it.
Really? Got it. Okay. So we have some questions here in the chat. Cool.
I got a question right here. Why don't they just reactivate the LLC? Because you got to remember, some of these people are in a bad position. She happened to be in a bad position. You know, she
what's the how do you figure out how much to offer the LLC? Yeah, it's
Hold on one second. Because we can't hear you, number one, and if you I want you guys to be able to ask questions, but just do me a favor, hit that little three buttons, because we got people with their hands up that are going to ask some questions here, so we can kind of address them one at a time here. I don't know who that was. If you don't know how to do it, put your hand up. It's like a little the three buttons in the top right hand corner. You click on it and then raise your hand, and then we'll go ahead and get you on here. But make sure you ain't got no Boost Mobile so we can hear you though. All right. I couldn't hear you.
It's bad out there?
It's bad out here, fam.
Is it? Well, I got a question here. So like Charles said, Denard saying, why don't they just reactivate the LLC? Remember, guys, the ones that we're going after are problem properties. Where they're not in a position to do so. The example that Charles showed earlier is they're actually in foreclosure. They were foreclosing. The LLC was foreclosing. Not the LLC. The LLC was getting foreclosed on because they own the property. And another question is, how do you buy the LLC without buying the properties? Like Charles mentioned earlier, if the LLC is not active, it can't be doing business, can't be conducting sales if it's in active state. So we are purchasing the LLC using a bill of sale method. Now, of course, there's a lot more that goes to it, but the quick answer is we buy the LLC, which in the inactive LLC owns the property. So now we own the property that comes with it.
Got you. Brandon said, how do you hunt down LLCs that aren't activated? Are you specifically hunting those down, or are they just coming across your radar?
I mean, you can, but here's the problem. And we did that before. What you're going to find is you're going to have a lot of dead time. So we go after motivation, you know, we go after sense of urgency. So if somebody is motivated to get rid of something, you know, or they're in jeopardy, they're going to be more likely to work with you. So you can go hunt for LLCs all day long, and they're not in jeopardy. What you're going to find is, no, well, we got it, we'll take care of it. You're going to get a lot of that. You know, we've hardly ever captured an LLC that wasn't in jeopardy. But when you go after properties that are getting foreclosed for taxes, trust me, those people, they're in a bad situation. And in this case, this lady, man, I mean, she made $200,000, you know, and she did very well. I mean, you're in a position to treat them real well. Let me tell you why. And all of you should know this. If a property is behind on taxes more than 2 years, there's no mortgage. At least not in Texas. You know, if you're in a non-judicial state, I can tell you right now, if the property is behind more than 2 years in taxes, there's no mortgage. You know why? Because they're afraid the county will foreclose. And I've seen transactions where people have a mortgage and they're not paying for 6, 8 months, whatever, but the taxes are always paid. And the reason for that is because the lenders are always going to pay taxes, even if you're paying your mortgage or not. So if you know that they're behind on taxes, you can pretty much guarantee that there is no mortgage. So now you're in a position to really, you know, you got to do your due diligence on the numbers and everything, but you're in a position to offer them real cash that's going to go into their pocket. Now, what you got to be careful about, something that we're careful about, is that there's not a home equity or line of credit, you know, a lien against them or HELOC. So there's a way for us to check on that. And there's a website that we go to here that we can plug in the lawsuit number. And then if we see the county is suing, for example, Randolph Brooks or Navy Federal, we know that they probably got a HELOC or something. So we got to address that. You don't want to go make an offer without knowing those things. So you can treat these people really, really well, to be honest with you. because you know that you're not going to have to be paying off any mortgages. They're going to, whatever's coming to them is coming to their pocket.
Kamar had a question here. It goes back to the sub 2 route. So he's asking, why would the price of a home be increased to match the price of a builder? Typically, when someone buys a house within a year or 2 years, there's not that much equity. And if they're still buying houses like Charles and I do, we not focus, but we look at houses that were houses particularly built. Because if a seller's selling there and they're still building in that same exact subdivision, one, it's going to be tough to compete with the builder, because here in San Antonio and in Texas, for the most part, the builder pays for all your closing costs, which is typically $5,000 to $6,000 to $7,000. So for a homeowner who has a property, they would have to increase the price to give back to inform that $6,000 to $7,000 to just match what the builder is. They have such a hard time doing so because they're trying to match the builder. So
Oh, I think we lost Mike.
yeah.
Oh, there you go. We lost you for a quick second.
You guys got me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Appreciate that, man. So the second question was, are we finding foreign nationals to get the wraparounds, or how we're finding them? To believe it or not, we're pretty close to down south. Charles and I were doing sub 2 deals in El Paso, Laredo, of course, here in San Antonio. We had deals in Corpus, Dallas, where we do these sub 2 methods. But down the border, we got Laredo and El Paso. Of course, there's a lot of Mexican nationals that they can buy, but they're not in a position because of their legal status, whatever. So we find those guys, and they actually find us. They're really people ready to buy because they want the opportunity to become a homeowner, and they can't qualify the traditional route. So it's pretty easy to find buyers here.
And Tommy, I know you heard me say it before. I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but let me just share something with you guys. We've been doing this a long time, man. And the majority of our properties, when we want to finance them, we really like to seek out foreign nationals. And the reason for that, especially is if they can pay a $200,000 to $300,000 property, they're in a position to do it. Keep in mind, if you're wrapping properties, at least here in Texas, if you're in another state, you got to check on that. You got to get QMs, qualified mortgages, through RMLO. Make sure you're getting that, because you don't want to be wrapping properties and then be accused of doing predatory loans. The thing is, we target a lot of foreign nationals because, one, they don't want to be in Mexico. They got to bring their families over here. Two, when they put a down payment down, they can afford it. And if they can afford a good down payment and they can afford the mortgage, they're always going to. Never had a problem with any of our foreign national homeowners. And I look at it two ways. One, you got to think of it from their perspective. Where are they going to go if they don't pay? I know that sounds kind of mean, but it's the truth. The second thing is, I just think that they have more, I don't know, man. It's just different, man. When they pay stuff, they want to make sure it gets paid. And we've had more problems, hate to say it, with American homeowners that buy owner finance than anybody, that we sell to you that's from another country. So what I'm saying to you guys is, if you decide you're going to take on sub 2s and you're going to learn this technique, for us, it works. But you got to make sure the people you're putting into those properties are going to pay them, because if they don't pay them, guess what? You got to pay them.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, we got a little bit of time left, and then I got 3 people with their hands up that I want to make sure they get their questions answered. Give me the high level, just a real brief of the last strategy we're talking about, because a lot of us like to deal with foreclosures, right? Pre-foreclosures, that's the hot list. Everybody wants them. But then when you got that, you're racing against the clock, right? And you have a way that you guys do some things where you can kind of postpone that. So talk a little bit about that, how we could postpone the pre-foreclosures.
So we've done this many times, and we've sometimes it's not gone through, guys, but I would say that the success rate is somewhere around 80%, maybe a little higher. Wow. Maybe a little higher when we have done it. And so we all know that to stop a foreclosure, in most cases, you got to get a temporary restraining order, a TRO. The homeowner can file for bankruptcy. Of course, he has other options before he even gets to foreclosure. They can do a deed in lieu foreclosure. They can do a short sale. There's options available. But What if you don't have the money, or the homeowner doesn't have the money to hire an attorney to file a temporary restraining order, or doesn't have the money to file for bankruptcy, or the bank doesn't approve a short sale? So we've developed a method to get the bank documentation to get them to pull back on the foreclosure. And I'll share a little bit about it with you. It's a combination of using the short sale message with an active purchase acknowledgement, and in combination with a hardship letter that's used for modification with a mercy clause. Remember, guys, banks are not in the position of doing real estate. They don't want to do real estate, and they don't want to get sued. If a homeowner is reaching out to a bank saying, give me the opportunity to sell my house, remember what I said, the purchase, acknowledging that there's a purchase in place. They don't want to, and they're asking the homeowner, hey, the lender, don't destroy me. I have an option here, and it's a valid one, and they're documenting it. The bank doesn't want to foreclose on somebody like that, especially if the homeowner's reaching out to them, telling them what the problem is, what happened, but now there's a now, and they're asking for mercy. And in almost every situation that we've done this, we've been able to stop the foreclosure. The best one we ever did, and we posted this about 4 or 5 months ago, we actually stopped it the very morning of foreclosure. That's the best one we've ever done. That morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, we submitted all the documentation. We had them on the phone, and we stopped the foreclosure. And so there's a way of doing that, guys. You got to make sure you follow all the steps. But it's beautiful because you can help out a lot of people. What it does for you, it buys you time. Now, what we're doing here, let me expand on something, Tommy. You have to, in no way at any time are we not disclosing to the homeowner. We're going to tell them, look, we need time. We can't just buy this house from you. We're going to try to stop the foreclosure, and we get them to sign acknowledgement letters so that if it doesn't go through, then he's not accusing us of saying we were going to do something, we didn't do it. So we get them to sign acknowledgement letters, and then we push through. And if it goes through, fantastic. Now you got to be careful whether you're getting a temporary stay or they're full-blown removing it from the foreclosure. They're full-blown removing it from the foreclosure. Guess what? They got to start the whole process all over again. And here in Texas, that's at least 41 days. So you're probably looking at about a good 60 days, maybe 90 days before they even think about foreclosing again. If it's a temporary stay on the foreclosure, then it's going to be back for foreclosure the next month. So you got to know those things. With the process of stopping it, it's a very unique process that we start. We combine the whole different systems to put it together and submit it to the bank.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So, and your whole goal for doing that is to stopping them or stopping that or holding up that process enough so that you could figure out the numbers, find a buyer, wholesale it, or buy it yourself?
Well, if we're looking at a sub 2, right, and it's at the last minute, we really want it, okay, we're going to attempt to stop the foreclosure. If it's, of course, if it has equity and we want to take it down, but we need to run a background check, on the individuals, make sure they don't have any liens or anything. We don't want to pay something off and then get hit with something, So we need time. And so I don't want to pay $4,500 for a TRO the day before foreclosure, because those things get expensive. The closer they get to the foreclosure date, the more these attorneys want to charge. So, and you could suggest to somebody to go file bankruptcy, but technically now you're practicing law. Anytime you're advising somebody to do something, and so we're definitely never going to say that. We may say to someone, look, I've seen people do this. I'm not an attorney. You can Google this. Actually, it's common knowledge. I'm always going to do disclaimers. I've seen people file for bankruptcy, and that will definitely stop the foreclosure. But that's not the route that we take. We've learned how to stop them, so we're always going to use our route first.
Got you. All right, cool, man. Man, that's a lot of stuff, and I know we got some people here that have had their hand up patiently. Greg is number one. He had his hand up. So let me go through these real quick because I want to make sure that I'm respectful of you guys' time. And I told you guys, 7 o'clock your time, you'd be off, 8 o'clock ours. So let me unmute Greg real quick so he can ask his questions.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Really appreciate you jumping on.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, man, my question's it's a little involved, so I'm going to try to shorten it, but just let me know if I need to fill in any gaps. So the first two deals that I've done were actually sub-twos, and the goal was to do a lease option. One of them's in place, it's good, money's coming in, beautiful. The other one, the homeowner had a second mortgage, and the document that he had basically stated that if he sold the property and didn't make enough money, that the loan would be forgiven. So I was like, all right, we'll kind of rock with that, no problem. So as it stands now, we haven't heard back from that organization to verify that they're going to forgive the loan. Now with COVID-19, everything's been pushed back, so I can't quite get the guy out because they haven't even moved out yet. But because of the situation with the other, the secondary loan, we haven't even been able to finish the closing, so nothing's been recorded. So the problem is this was a no equity. I mean, it was barely any equity in it just because it has a lot of repairs. So it was going to work great for a lease option. I'm really just trying to figure out what's my move here. I thought about trying to wholesale it. I thought about trying to maybe get the bank to put the reinstatement on the back end and just kind of hold on, because we had the reinstatement money, but of course it's been a month or so. So that money's going up. The reinstatement's going up, the lawyer fees, all that stuff going up. So at a certain point, we're going to be upside down if we actually close this thing. So I'm just wondering if you guys have any advice on how we should move on this one. I mean, I could back out of it because technically we don't have a clear title. So that's my worst case scenario is I just back out of it and get my money back.
So real quick, Cliff Notes, I got to hit you up with some stuff real quick. So first of all, we target properties that don't need rehab. Now, if they do need rehab, so excuse me, if we're going to target an older property, we're going to see if they got a recent loan. If they got a recent loan, that means probably somebody rehabbed it and somebody bought a flip and now they're behind. If we're going to target properties with equity that need rehab, then we want to make sure there's equity in the property rather. It's very seldom that we're going to take on a property that doesn't have any equity and also doesn't have any equity, where there's a reinstatement and there's rehab to be done. But the combination of those two things, that's usually what puts you in the hole. So, for example, in San Antonio, the down payment, the average down payment is $20,000. But if I'm doing a reinstatement, let's just say of $18,000 and needs $10,000 in rehab, now I'm at $28,000. And if I got to, let's just say, hold it for 3 months, let's just say the average payment, for example, is $1,500. Now I'm closer to $30,000. And if closing is $2,000, so now I'm at $32,000. And if the down payment average is $20,000, I'm going to float $12,000. And then my ROI on the property, let's just say, is $350. It's going to take me about 48 months to even see a profit. So in that situation, in your situation with this dormant loan, man, if it was me, you know, and if they don't forgive the second, then I'm probably not going to do that deal. You know, yeah. I'm not going to do that deal because it has reinstatement, it has rehab, plus you have no equity, and you have a dormant loan, and those four things right there can really put you in a hole, man. You know, so what you want to look for is no equity, no rehab. Don't care if it has equity or not, but no rehab. So that way, if you get it without a reinstatement, that's even better, because now you're making money on the down payment. But if you do get it with a reinstatement, let's just say you get a reinstatement of 12, closing is 2,000. Now you're into 14. You want to finance it. Let's just say you do a lease option, and they're going to put money down. At least you can get all your money back. That's the objective. You want to get into these deals with zero out of your pocket. So you're putting money up front, but you want to make sure you get it out. You don't want to be floating money. When these dormant loan guys, it's good that he brought that up. You got to be careful with these on these subject twos, because some of these sub twos have dormant HUD loans. And on the 80/20, it's very important, guys. If they file for bankruptcy at some point in the past, man, we got caught big time with this. That 20 came back and bit us in the ass 5 years later. The lender said, hey, we're foreclosing if you guys don't make arrangements or pay this thing off. So we had to modify it. Why? Because in a bankruptcy, it gets charged off. It doesn't get written off. And we're like, what are you talking about? This thing was charged off. They said, it was charged off, but it's not written off. It's still attached to the property. Just throwing some stuff out there, Tommy, real quick, you know?
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. That's good stuff to know, because sometimes the best creative deal is the one that you understand that you shouldn't be too creative with. Just back out. Yeah. Sometimes it's wiser just to say, you know what, I'm gonna stop trying to fit this this circle into this square hole, and you know, just back out of it and get your money back and live to invest another day.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, man. Mo, what's up, man? We got a couple minutes. I hate to push you guys, but I want to be respectful of Charles and Mike's time.
Hey guys, my question is actually really quick. My question is, when you're sub two and you're gonna do like an owner finance with a wraparound, what type of reserves are you guys holding, like in case somebody does default? I know like the probability based on the history for you guys is like really low, but are you holding reserves or?
Yeah, so we got,
Charles. So Mo, on that one, when we talk about reserves, people can say reserves and having money onto the side to in case they don't make the payments, or we're talking about reserves like, for example, the escrow. So I mean,
Reserves in case they don't make the payments.
Okay, so Charles and I are fortunate enough to been doing this for quite a few years, and we have a pretty decent portfolio. So if someone doesn't make the payments, Charles and I will cover down on all payments that are made. That's something the question a seller usually has is, how do I know you're going to make the payments if whatever you're doing with the property doesn't get paid? So Charles and I will use a third-party company to service all of our notes. And if a payment is not making paid, we get notified and we use that passive income with the property or the portfolios to cover down on that payment. So we're just in a position now to do so.
Almost like you're cross-collateralizing like your cash flow from other properties.
That's the question for that one. Tommy, I know we're running short on time, but I got, you know, if you don't mind, I can answer these 3 questions pretty quick on comments.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the first one is, with all the sub 2 deals that we've done, has the bank ever called a note on us? The note is where the bank has the authority to say, hey, because the deed changed, we're going to call the note. If you guys owe us 150 grand, we want the 150 grand. And in the past 8 to 10 years that we've been doing this, it's happened to us twice. One of them was because the seller kept calling the bank. We think that she changed her mind after the fact. She caused a red flag, so the lender called the note on that one. The second one is the mortgage company hired an attorney to do an audit on the books. We happened to be one of the properties. They called the note. We followed up with that mortgage company, that attorney. They actually fired the attorney because of all the headaches it was causing all the notes. So that's a pretty good answer on that one. Do we put them in LLCs or land trust? When we first started, we did LLCs. As we grew and we experienced more and more, we now put them all in land trust. Reason being is because a bank can't tell the seller that they can't do estate planning. So we put them all into land trust, and Charles or myself is a trustee for those properties. John Jones asked, do we require an attorney for this transaction, or it depends on the state? Some title companies here in San Antonio will not close sub twos, and some title companies will. All they got to do is move the mortgage from Schedule C to Schedule B, so we all understand that there's still an underlying mortgage on the property, and to close the transaction. Charles and I, we favor a real estate attorney. Keeps the cost down. We keep more efficient, and it's a little more personal when they see actual real estate attorney coming to the office and closing the deals. Kamar asked, what is the reinstatement? Is that the reinstatement of the mortgage? That's correct. The reinstatement of the mortgage. When someone's behind or they're getting foreclosed, I don't know if you guys experienced it wherever you guys are at, but if someone's behind, let's just say 5 months, and that seller tries to submit a payment of one mortgage payment, the bank will usually kick it back when you're in foreclosure. The reason they'll kick it back is because they want the entire amount in full, which is also known as the reinstatement. In order for the seller to reinstate the loan back current, the foreclosure attorney needs to issue a reinstatement letter, and it's to the penny on how much that seller needs to catch up the loan current. Tommy?
That's good, man. That's good. Roosevelt had a question. He's the guy that's been bugging me for the last 3 weeks in a good way for subject to class. So give him some gems here. Go ahead, Roosevelt.
Perfect. Hey, man, I just got a quick little question for you guys. When it comes to, trying to do the best thing for the client, when it comes to the negotiation process, what is your first go-to when it comes to owner financing or leased options? Which one is your first go-to when it comes to, negotiations and trying to find the best deal for the client? Can't hear you.
Oh, hold on. Gotta unmute you there, Charles. My bad.
So you're Roosevelt. You're talking about the person that we're gonna sell to, right?
The person we're buying from.
Okay, the person we're buying from, a true sub two, right? We're not doing a lease option. We're taking a sub two. That's what we're doing. Okay. So if they're, and we're not doing, a lot of times, a lot of attorneys, you got to be careful with this. They want to say, well, hey, you got to put a deed of trust on that transaction. When at that point, whether there's a note created or mirror wrap that we call, in other words, dollar for dollar, that's not a true sub two. A sub two is just them deeding to you. And then so that way, when you go to sell to someone, you have to decide, are you going to rent it out? Are you going to wrap it? Are you going to do a lease option? That's when you would do that for the buyer, your potential buyer. But when you're taking it for someone, if you're going to take it on a wrap or a mirror wrap, that's cool. But if you're going to do a true sub two, there's no deed of trust, and you're just that's the actual transaction of sub two. And I do want to say something I almost forgot. I want to the gentleman that asked us a question earlier. Look, something is very important for you guys. We will never, ever, 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 ever. I don't care what the story is, guys. Do not ever leave somebody in the property when you take over the sub two, especially if you're reinstating. God forbid you go pay $18,000 on a transaction, you reinstate, and they promise they're going to pay, and then they don't pay. How are you going to get them out? You're going to go into court saying, I took over this property subject to.
Wow.
The judge is going to be like, they got possession. The loan is their name. What are you talking about? You see, so when we take a sub two, they sign a litany of disclosures, but the key thing is intent. If they moved out of the property and we took possession along with the documentation, then they can't come back and say, hey, we're in the property. See, they exited the property. So don't ever leave anybody in the property when you're reinstating a subject to. That never do that.
That's good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it, man. You guys are fantastic, man. You guys gave us a lot of gems, a lot of different things. First of all, Mike and Charles, if you guys can throw in your Instagram, where they can follow you guys in the chat, so that we can everybody needs to go follow them, because number one, they're a part of our Recession to Blessing giveaway that I'm quite sure I talked to you guys about before, that you guys definitely need to get a part of, because there's things that they know that I don't know. There's a lot of things that they know that I don't know, right? That's just not my wheelhouse. And Charles doesn't know how to do Instagram, so I'm going to go ahead and just.
Hey, I messed up, man. I'm sorry, man.
At time. See, I'm trying to teach Charles how to do Instagram, man. But
hey, Tommy, do you mind if I share my my little poster?
Absolutely, man. Go ahead.
So that's our little thing right there, guys. It doesn't have that. This is right here is our HBHS Hustle Instagram. But we do a lot of announcements on this association. If you're on Facebook, we do our podcast through the Home Buying Wholesaling Solutions, and we have our videos on YouTube. And then, of course, we have a new site coming out for the HBHS Solutions. The one we have right now, we really don't like, but the Turn Up the Hustle stuff, we put a lot of stuff on there. So if you guys ever want to listen to one of our podcasts, we give a lot of information. That's one thing about Mike and I. Did y'all get that? When we share stuff and we get
take a photo of it, send it back.
When we share stuff, we get into the weeds. We really want to share stuff with people. We don't just want to. So on our podcast, we get into a lot of details, and we have people that go on there, man, that are just really, really knowledgeable. So just like right here with Tommy, So you guys are welcome to join us. And I think Tommy put my Instagram on. I'm supposed to put the chat, the little @ symbol, right?
Yeah, I got to put the @ symbol. I was going to do it, but then you had the poster, so I figured, hey. But yeah, you got to put the little @ symbol. There you go. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, man, definitely follow them. Do that now so you guys don't forget. Giving away a lot of information. Make sure that you guys are entering to win the Recession to Blessing, because I know you guys are already in our course. That's why you're here. But there's 20 other investors that have other things that you can win. And we're doing a giveaway every single day starting April 10th, leading up to April 10th. So put your stuff in now. Just go to Recession to Blessing. I'll put it in the chat here as well. And make sure that you guys enter that. Just follow the instructions. Recession to Blessing. that all just spawned out of this whole thing, right? Everything was happening, and there's about 20 of us got there, 21 of us got together and decided, you know what, we got a couple of skills, we got a couple of tricks up our sleeve, we got a couple of things that we can bless people with. So why not give it back? So just go ahead and find Recession to Blessing on Instagram and do that, and click the link and you'll be good. Appreciate it once again, man. Thank you guys so much, man. And we definitely.
You got a quick minute?
Yeah, real quick. Go ahead.
Quick 30 seconds. I know we got to get off here. So one of the things that Charles and I are real fond of is turn up the hustle. So we want to share with everyone, even to include the Recession of Blessing, is to help everyone turn up their hustle, whether it's doing your first deal for the first time, you deal a month, and you want to go to 3 deals a month, whether you want to do 5 deals, you want to learn about sub-twos. Charles and I are always about turning up the hustle, and that's just a little motto that we have. You can see the flag back there. Our website's turnupthehustle.com. And that's what we want for everyone, man. For everyone, just a reminder, man, when you wake up every morning with this COVID-19 going on, don't forget to turn up the hustle.
That's what's up. I like that. Make sure you guys follow them, man. Make sure you follow them and get that information. I'm trying to convince them both to come back for a little series where we can spend a little more deep dive time and stuff, answer more questions. But we'll see. We'll see if they liked you guys or not. So
we like all of you guys, man. Girls too. Girls, I'm sorry.
I'll turn up the hustle together.
Yeah. Go to turnupthehustle.com. All right,
go
man.
To Recession of Blessing, guys. There's a bunch of awesome people giving up their time, courses, coaching calls. Man, it's beautiful, right, Tom?
Oh, I love it, man.
If you've done so, man, make sure you guys like on Instagram, Recession of Blessing.
Yeah. I love that. I love it, man. I love it. All right, everybody. Well, man, I hope you guys learned something today, man. Use this stuff. Don't just sit on it. Don't just write notes and then put the notepad up. Actually take advantage of this information. This is information that a lot of people, the vast majority, think about that. The vast majority of America doesn't even know these things exist. Like, you're a part of the 1% of the 1% that actually know that these things exist. Now we just have to fine tune some things, right? But once we fine tune it and get zeroed in, man, it's like a sniper right behind a weapon, right? It's like you can just pick these things off, and not just pick them off in a bad way, but to actually help people. Some of these people, like I told you guys my story, I did lose my house to foreclosure. I'd have been begging and pleading for Charles and Mike to knock on my door and take my property over, so I didn't have that against my record, right? So make sure you guys learn this stuff so that we can go out there and we can help people. All right? You guys have a blessed one. I love you guys, and go out there and let's turn this thing up and make some money. Turn up the hustle. Peace.
Turn up the hustle.
Thanks, Charles. Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Tommy.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Good night, everybody. Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Thank you.